real estate agent. So in other words, he chose to be like my father. That left me have to stay in school. I was in school. No, I didn't want to be in school. I had to stay. And so only when he left in year 10 was I able to drop it all and sort of, I repeated year 12 and did all sorts of other interesting things, but I couldn't compete with him in the hands-on profession. I had to stay academic. And for that reason, he can't pick up a pen and do a letter or a test, a real estate license, nothing. He'll get a migraine. In other words, when you start to analyse families, the theories can be quite predictive in some ways if you know what you're looking for. So, all I'm saying is if this poor kid, like you say, the C's and D's, they don't process language, not because they don't have what they haven't developed it. There was no currency in it. The other kid collected that sort of stuff.
But that's where you signed for, that you put up, what are you doing?
Yeah.
That is such a powerful sign.
Yeah.
In any situation, that can apply right across the school. And it's so succinct. And it really addresses everybody.
Yeah, and if they could read those words at least, you'd get somewhere.
It doesn't address the communal responsibility.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think this is a challenge for us. I'm going to come back to this theory because this theory is, I think, very predictive, by the way. How many people... Oh, I can't ask you that yet. I'll save it. Now, I'm going to take this a bit further. I'm going to give you a situation. Who's prepared on the spot to try and say those three things in a hint form? I need to see where you're sitting. I'll say it first and you tell me if you're going. You are teaching and some kids moving around the room. Who's able to say those three things on the spot? Using whatever word you want. It's in this setting. You're teaching and this person's wandering around, talking to people if you like. What would you say?
I thought we agreed that when you wanted my attention, you put your hands on your head and I'd come and see.
That's that. And I'm disappointed because
I can see a few people not following.
That'll do. Yeah, distracting others. Try and put in the context of rights of others. Okay, I thought we agreed ... I'm disappointed because I can see ... or people distracting others, yeah. So I could almost have a formula which says, if I wanted to practice it this way, I thought we agreed fill in the dots. I'm fill in the dots because fill in the dots. Yeah, I could have that. You know, at Layla Secondary they had things in their pockets, laminated pieces of card with dots in the right spaces, so they had this language sort of set out, but more for demands and hints. Okay, I'm going to give you another one. You ready? Someone throws a stapler across the room. And get out is not the right response. Someone throws a stapler. Who can hint to the group that they should have stopped him? In other words, communal responsibility you're hinting for. Probably. Okay, so let's find one. Let's assume there was time to stop it, and then we'll play that out. Yeah, okay, they picked up their chair and they did it. What? Who's going to try the words? Yep.
Because we decided that all people should feel safe in our classroom.
Yep.
I would have appreciated if the people around had Ramon.
No, don't even use the names if you can, to see the chairs weren't thrown. That'll do. Yeah, try and take the names out because it personalises a bit too much. You want it broad as you can. Yeah, because we said people should be safe, I'm really disappointed that no one stopped the chair being thrown. That'll do. Same thing, what you said, but it's keeping it broader. Okay, now that should be your challenge. You should go to school and you should be able to sit with a colleague and talk about three things that happened that day, and they should be able to... Oh yeah, there's a good one. Primary. There are kids sitting on the mat and some kids poking the other kids. What do you say? And you want communal. You don't want personal. How do you say it? Actually, I'll give you a check and write it down. Everyone write it down. You are taking a grade 3 they're sitting on the mat and some kid's poking the other kid, hopefully not a compass, but just poking him with something. And you want to say something by way of hint, not to the kid because that kid's a C, but the kids sitting around is where you're addressing this. They're A's and B's. They're A's usually. So what are you going to say that might deal with this? Write it down. It's got to have reference to the situation, the impact this is having on people or the expectations you would have had, and how you're feeling about this lack of action on their part. We need some examples. I'll give you feedback. My feedback from listening to people is there's still confusion between personal and responsible and communal. It's not so clear. So who's prepared to share one? Yep. Okay, that's fine. That's a broad one. But I'm say it again, I'm sad that no one is reminding their friends about. That would be a great start for any communal, wouldn't it? Yeah, and you then the rights of others is a broad brush. And you'll see in there I said there's the general ones and then there's those specifically tailored to situation. So I'm sad to see that no one's reminding their friends about. Would be a great start for any communal one. Okay, somebody else?
I think you're far too sad and far too disappointed.
Yeah.
Couldn't you say,
Yeah.
I'm pleased to see that most of you are keeping your hands to yourself, but I'd be even more pleased if everyone would.
Yeah. I have no complaints. That's what I said. I get criticised because I'm always on the negative. So, yep, you're right. I'm pleased to see that nearly everybody is helping others do the right thing. Would be the equivalent of that in the positive. Yeah, and it's the same sort of logic. If it's going to work, it's going to work. They'll think about it, they'll act accordingly because they want to be responsible. So you're right, it's a hint. A hint is a hint. So it doesn't matter whether it's negative or positive, but positive is just the nicest feel to it. That's why if you can do it, you do it. Somebody else? Anyone actually focus on more on the behaviour like you did, but even in the negative if you have to?
We agree that skills and personal space, and it's nice to see that most of us are keeping our hands to ourselves.
Yeah, and that's personal, that's not communal still. Most of us are encouraging others to keep our hands to themselves will be communal. So it's just that slight variation, yeah? Now, that is a skill, all right? I don't know how important that skill is. I know the research indicates that hinting, be it non-verbal or verbal, is significant in predicting development of responsible behaviour in kids. And in my most recent stuff, which I did last year, it's more powerful than it's been in other studies because those people are actually trained a bit. So I don't know if that's why, because when we ask kids to teachers hint, they don't know what they're talking about because it rarely happens and they think some demands are hints. So, but even there, their perceptions of hints relates to their perceptions of other things which count. So hinting may be one of the sort of best kept secrets in a way in terms of good pedagogy. That's my feeling, certainly in management. We won't know until 4 years down the track when people have been taught to do it really well or have learnt to do it really well and have tried it, and we see what the kids look like. Because in 4 years, and that's what's happening in one or two schools where it's working. They say that these kids can be hinted at by CRTs and specialists and it just flows over. That they do want to be responsible. They do think it's their business. Now that would be your problem. So what we'll do is we'll break for a minute. Now, I would like to break, if you agree, like last time, half an hour, not the full hour. Is that going to worry anybody? Okay, so we'll break for half an hour. Before we break, do you have any questions on hinting per se? We're going to come back to controlling. We're going to leave hinting. Okay, I'm there during lunch anyhow, so you'll speak to me.